going back on the Arbach thing, I do not condone people being mean to her because she's a female, because, whatever other, just there's a lot of things that were said to her that were very unacceptable in my opinion. But she's not really necessarily reporting the news. She is interjecting her own opinion on the news on her Twitter account, her own personal Twitter account. And Chris Vanini, one of her associates there at The Athletic, stood up and said how reprehensible this has been for people to attack her. And, a lot of the replies I saw, other than "you're a stupid, bleep," whatever epithet you want to put in there, most of them were rational, common sense replies that, no, you just don't want to see football. I sent a private message to Chris, and I said, look, Chris, what's being said about Nicole is very unfair. But at the same time, people who live in our region, the Midwest, the Big Ten region, who support these schools typically are college-educated people, and you can't trick them. You can't fool them. When they see that she appears on Big Ten Network, when they see it theoretically getting paid per the appearance, I would assume, or some kind of stipend, when they see that she gets an exclusive with Kevin Warren for The Athletic, when they see that her standpoints and her viewpoints are sympathetic of Kevin Warren and canceling football, I think it's only normal to assume that that's going to upset a lot of people. And I think that that's lost on them. They don't get that. And I said to Chris, your outlet has an issue because her credibility is being shadowed by her association with Big Ten Network and her coziness with the commissioner. She's not impartial. She just as I'm not. I'll readily admit I'm not. My business is dependent on there being college football. I will readily admit that. I am telling you that face to face right now. Just as sure as there's a nose on my face, I'm telling you that. And I think what I said to him is people aren't going to accept that. And that's where all the vitriol toward her has come from, that they view her as carrying the water for the Big Ten and bringing a message that nobody wants to hear. Nobody who follows the sport that she purports to cover wants to hear that. So, and you can apply that to 40. You can apply that to Wolken, who was back out there criticizing Ryan Day as well. Any of the other ones. I don't know. They're taking all the fun out of this. I don't know. It's weird.
From the moment that the Big Ten first canceled the season, just a couple of days after releasing the schedule, the revised schedule that they worked so hard to build, of course, people started to say, hey, teams need to defect, leave. Of course, Ohio State was at the top of the list for a number of reasons. Do you guys believe that that is a real possibility, or is that just in la-la land, talking about leaving the Big Ten, being an independent, or joining another conference?
I think it's fun to talk about, but there's more to it than just football. If you can separate it and just make it about football, because Notre Dame is in the Big Ten for hockey, they're in the ACC for basketball. They're their own thing. If Ohio State could just be in another league for football, I think we can talk about that. But to leave the Big Ten entirely, first it would take the end of the grant of rights, which I assume is going to be come at the end of the TV deal in 2023. But I don't even know if that's the end of the grant of rights or if they continue for a long time after. So that's always going to be the one of the big sticking points. The other is the whole academic side of the Big Ten and all of the sharing in there. I think it's I would love to see Ohio State play in a more serious football situation. I don't know that they can do 1 foot in, 2 feet out type. I don't know why they have 3 feet, but just to be we're mostly in the Big Ten except for football. Other programs do it. Like Johns Hopkins is in the Big Ten for lacrosse, so it's certainly not unheard of to be in separate conferences for different things. I don't know that Ohio State will ever get to that point because they're just so loyal to Indiana and Purdue, and what would they do without Rutgers and Maryland? You know, these programs have been tied together for so long. You can't just pull apart a bond like Ohio State and Rutgers. It wouldn't be right.
Dozens of months they've been tied together. Not to jump in front of Kevin, but I'll just say I think their rights may be tied up through 2032 as part of the Big Ten Network agreement. I could be wrong on that, but the current deal with Fox, ESPN, ABC, CBS for basketball goes for 3. This was the fourth school year of a 6-year contract. So it's the spring of 2023. The last football season is 2022. That would be 6 years. And Delaney did that deliberately, knowing that their rights would come back up for auction before any of the other major conferences who had signed much longer agreements. I know that the SEC is already shopping the Game of the Week CBS package, and CBS, I guess, has that at a real cheap rate on an old grandfather deal that they have, and they've gotten tremendous bang out of it. And I think they've already pulled themselves out of negotiation for it and would even entertain a buyout by whoever takes those rights over to take over that spot, although they're making all kinds of money off of those. Be what, a 12 or 14 game package on SEC on CBS for the season. But there are a lot of factors involved with this. You would have to think there's some kind of exit fee, probably around $100 million, probably to get out from underneath of this thing. You also have your equity in the Big Ten Network, which Fox may look at it and say, okay, if this conference is going to dissolve, we're just going to roll this thing into, and the name I came up with it, since there's already an American Athletic Conference, we'll just call it the National Athletic Conference. It'd be the NAC, the NAC. I can't think of anything else. And in a perfect world, you'd have Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State, Iowa, Nebraska, those 5 is kind of your backbone. Try and recruit Notre Dame, try and recruit Texas, try and recruit Oklahoma, let Notre Dame and Texas keep their outside gigs, seriously, and negotiate something with Fox or ESPN or whoever. I said this on the show a few weeks ago. They're getting $55 million right now, split among 14 schools. You give me a powerhouse 9 or 10 school league, and we can command roughly the same amount of money overall in a given year. I can give each of those schools upwards of $90 to $100 million to be a part of something that's real and tangible and enduring over the next 50 years of college athletics, as opposed to this freaking relic that they are a part of right now.
Well, I still think you can have the best of all worlds. I think you can keep your Big Ten for your academics and for your Olympic sports, and hell, even for basketball. But I've said it, and here we go again, Noon and his breaking up 1A. But I think you do that. I think, conference affiliations don't mean anything. I mean, as we talked about this longtime love affair of Ohio State and Rutgers, you're just going to have to divorce yourself from that, and you're going to have to do 48 teams or something like that who create a Super 1A type of situation, and you have 4 12-team divisions or whatnot, and they're able to set their own rules in terms of name, image, likeness, and cost of attendance, and other types of situations. That schools that are willing to put the time, the effort, the resources into competing at the highest level, you're going to get some of those easy wins off of there. What happens to the remainder of 1A? Don't know. Don't care. Don't care. You get these teams there. It's not Big Ten. It's not SEC or whatever. Super 1A, the national, whatever the hell you want to call it. You have that type of situation. I think you have a point of where if you're not meeting XYZ requirements, you get relegated out. But you sit there, you do that. You're not beholden to any conferences. You get your high-level football where you're able to sit there, install a czar, install a commissioner to be able to adjudicate things like this or make these types of situations you don't kill off your conference affiliations that have been going on for hundreds of years or hundreds of minutes when you look at Rutgers, and you just go on about your lives. I think that's going to be the best way to stem the tide from us getting into a situation of where a true competing minor league system comes up, and then we're all screwed.
Steve, what about, you said National Athletic Conference. What about something like the Legends Athletic Conference? Or even, let me try this one on for you, the Leaders Athletic Conference. Let's just, just see how those bounce around in your brain, see if one of those sticks out, we all love college football, but to say like, oh, we're tired of the Big Ten or whatever, we'll take it. But there are ways to improve things, and you just wonder if Ohio State is interested in being part of that improvement, if the Big Ten would be interested in improving. It took Urban Meyer to bring this conference up kicking and screaming, basically. It took, when Urban Meyer arrived, Gene Smith was like, we're not going to get into an arms race with assistant coaches. So, like, he even had to bring Gene Smith along with him, and Gene Smith was the athletic director of The Ohio State University. And so now Urban Meyer's gone. Ryan Day is probably as angry as anybody in Ohio. That's why he won't talk to us. He's, I'm sure, like, it just wouldn't be prudent to get me on a phone and let me say some things. Because I mentioned this before. The last time we talked to him, I asked him, and this was, I don't know, a month ago, or 3 weeks ago, whenever it was, 22 weeks ago. Like, how do you feel about Kevin Warren's son being able to play? He's like, like, I'm just focused on us. What would that answer be today? It'd probably be the exact same answer, but there would be fire coming out of his eyeballs when he had to answer it. And it's just unfortunate that they have this meeting with they have this phone call with Kevin Warren, and yet Ryan Day is still talking about the answers are confusing. They're incomplete. The communication, you get done with the meeting and you're like, what did we actually meet about? What kind of answers did we get? Nothing. And then Ryan Day goes and conveys that to his team, and you see like Wyatt Davis is like, well, this doesn't look good. The Ohio State players in the program is so focused on meeting tasks and having something to shoot for. They have nothing right now. And so Wyatt Davis turning pro gives him something to advance forward. Now, maybe if the Big Ten comes back this weekend or on Monday and says, hey, we're playing October 17th, maybe he comes back. But a lot of these players just want some direction, and they're not getting it from the Big Ten, which is crazy to me because it's such an organized organization, you would think, and they should be able to they've got the medical directive from their task force about how to restart in mid-October. So they will go ahead and vote on that. Ryan Day seemed to think it was a good plan. We know other programs won't. And once they vote no on that, then I guess the floodgates are loose on who's going to be leaving next for the Buckeyes. And you probably play some bingo and have some bingo cards with jersey numbers on them and see who wins.